Hi everyone. Hi everyone, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs. I'm going to start again. Hi everyone, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs, and this is my first YouTube live, and I'm using it to try out Canon's brand new EOS Webcam Utility, which is still in beta, so expect some technical issues as well as some personal issues because this is the first YouTube live that I've done. So if you're watching live, I hope that this works out, and if you're watching it as a recording, I hope I can get across some useful information for you. Okay, so the news is this. Canon USA in particular has released some software that allows you to use selected EOS and PowerShot cameras as USB webcams. And in theory, this means that you could use them as standard webcam cameras on your PC, which in turn means it should work with a variety of different software applications. As you can see here, it's working in YouTube Live. I've also used it in Skype, and I've seen people use it in OBS software as well. Now, the cool thing about this is that previously, if you wanted to use a big camera with a big sensor and your choice of lenses, you would need to take the HDMI output, and you'd need an HDMI capture device on your computer, various mixers, and it can be done. And I know lots of people who do it very, very effectively, but it's not that straightforward unless you've really got, some studio experience and lots of gear at your disposal. But now, just with a USB cable, you can connect, like I say, selected EOS and PowerShot cameras directly to a Windows 10 PC and use it as a webcam. Okay, a bit more information. It currently only works on Windows 10 PCs, and that's the 64-bit version of Windows 10. And that's why you're seeing me with a slightly different environment around me. This is in a different room in my house because normally I use a Mac to do most of my work. If you've ever seen me on that blue sofa, then that's when I'm using my Mac. But I don't have a Windows 10 PC in that room, and I wasn't going to look this one up because it's a full-size desktop system. So I've had to move down here. I believe that DP Review asked Canon whether they were going to be doing Mac OS version. I assume they will at some point, but they certainly haven't announced that yet. Looking at the comments already, Akshay Anand, thank you very much for tuning in, says you can also use the old EOS remote utility in OBS to make a version of this app. That's very true. The EOS remote utility, I think, is one of the most underrated software applications that's around. When people review cameras or test them out, they rarely look at the software that's actually supplied by the manufacturer with them. And the EOS utility is really very, very powerful, that you can do a magnified live view direct from the camera. I used it quite a lot in the past for astrophotography because it lets you focus the lens remotely with a live view without touching the camera. And when you're working at very high magnifications, it's really important not to do that because that view really does wobble around all over the place. So in terms of the actual camera that I'm using here, Canon says that it will work with models like the 1DX Mark II and III, the EOS 5D Mark IV, as well as the 5DS and 5DS R. Models as old as the 80D and the 90D, but not the 70D. It doesn't quite go back that far, but there's plenty of 80Ds out there, and that would be an awesome webcam, wouldn't it? On the APS-C mirrorless front, we've got the M50, the M200, the M6 Mark II, which is their most recent one. And I'm using the EOS R, which is a full-frame mirrorless camera, and I've got the RF 15 to 35mm f2.8. Here at about 24mm f2.8, I've got it in the movie mode with face detection enabled, and prepare yourself, I'm going to come closer to the camera. Hopefully, it should be auto-focusing. In terms of quality, well, a lot of that depends on your internet connection. And I, prior to the COVID pandemic, had quite a fast internet connection. But now that everybody in the world is on the internet the whole time, my previously fast connection has slowed down. So I apologize in advance for any poor quality. Okay, Panda Photographer says, hey, back to you. Can't select HD on your stream, says Carl John Franz. It could be that it's not allowing that bandwidth-wise. I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of the quality depends on your USB connection with your PC. I mean, obviously, try it in a USB 3 or 3.1 port for the best speeds. USB-C, if your PC has that. Mine is quite an old PC, So it's possible that it might be doing this over a slower USB connection, in which case I'm really sorry, but you know, it does give you a bit of an idea as well. Yeah, I've got other comments saying it's only 480p max. I don't know if that's just on my stream or on everyone else's. But look, lovely shallow depth of field effect. This is what we want, isn't it? And a camera that will no doubt run its battery down in about half an hour. In fact, I should say that's one of the big caveats with using, you know, a DSLR or a big mirrorless camera as a webcam. You are going to eat through that power pretty quickly. So I would look into using some sort of external power source if you are going to be doing this for any length of time. I'm just using the battery. It was fully charged when I started this. So fingers crossed it doesn't suddenly disappear. If the screen suddenly goes black, you'll know why. Reagan5 says, hey, Gordon. Hey, back at you. Rajan Draft, hello to you. Mike Wiles, hi to you, Mike. You always post very nice comments on my videos. So welcome along here. This is fun, isn't it? Kashino says the autofocus is fine. Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? What else do we have? Cameron says he tried the new tool earlier with an M6 II, found it lasted for approximately 40 minutes, then it stopped working. Need to try again, I think. Yeah, I found that I did a couple of tests with this before I went live, and I'd say 50% of the time, the camera would just stop working and say, on the screen at the top. I don't know if that's short for error or just I'd like to think it's the latter. But remember, this is beta software and it's free of charge, so we shouldn't really be complaining. Well, you know. Panda Photographer says, video looks good. Flash Gordon, thank you. David Jones, hi Gordon, currently out documenting things for a client. Just popped in to see if this works and seems great to me on my old iPhone. Thanks for joining us, David. And I hope everybody is managing to cope as well as they can in the current climate. It's pretty hard. You know, also people who, you know, publish pictures and videos, you know, we're still doing it. Sometimes when I'm posting my reviews, I think, I mean, you know, is this really what people want to see at this point? But I think ultimately, if you are a YouTube creator or a photographer, even if you're posting on Instagram or Twitter or any other social network, you are really an entertainer. And I think at times like this, we do need entertainment. We do need to be distracted from some of the things that are going on. So I hope you don't think that it's distasteful that I'm continuing to try and do my reviews. And thanks everyone for your comments and support with that. We've got another comment saying only 480p. ZP says he got 720 or she got 720p out of it with OBS Studio. Via USB-C to C, I think this is one of the keys, is to have obviously a decent USB connection. And this is obviously one of the beauties of using HDMI instead, which is the traditional or conventional route, because if you do have an HDMI out and an HDMI capture device, then that whole chain is expecting a certain amount of bandwidth, isn't it? Whereas USB, especially on my old computer, it could be expecting a keyboard or a mouse, not a high bandwidth camera. So I think if you want decent quality, get yourself a fast USB connection. And if that's not working, get an HDMI capture device, because some of those aren't too expensive at the moment. Hello, David Crooks, who is in Virginia. Hello from Brighton. I hope things are good for you. Gordon, where is your mask? Well, I'm inside. Do I need a mask inside? Maybe I could just pull my hat down. In all seriousness, in the UK, I would say probably only about 10% of the people that I see, at least out in the streets of Brighton, have masks on. Most people are not. We're all being socially distant. We're observing it, but I don't see that many masks around here. David, yes, I know there is error. I just thought it was the camera going. Any overheating issues? 60 bustard. Probably not yet. Let's find out. I'm probably going to finish this before overheating becomes an issue. I think if you consider that the camera is working like it's recording video, really, then if the camera would work for, say, half an hour or an hour before overheating, then I would expect to get that when using it as a webcam. I mean, to be honest, the Canon cameras, in my experience, don't overheat very often at all. Canon are sort of reasonably careful about their specifications, so they rarely let their cameras get into a situation where they're going to get into trouble. Whereas I feel maybe Sony gives you more opportunities to, you know, film 4K for unlimited times on tiny cameras, but that in turn may involve some overheating issues it has in the past, although they're pretty well behaved now. OC2 Fish 7 says, good evening, everyone, and hello from North London in the UK. North London, I remember visiting North London. It's funny how during this situation, everything has become hyper-local, or at least it has for me. I feel that even going into Brighton, I live a couple of miles outside of the town centre, even going into the town feels like a big journey, like you're doing something. It's like getting on a plane and going somewhere exotic. So London, which is only an hour away on the train or by car, seems very far away to me now. And I really miss visiting everywhere, but it's amazing that even London seems very far away. So I hope everyone there is keeping well. I hope USB-C is charging the EOS R5. I would certainly imagine so, FE1538C. Who else is excited for the EOS R5? I'm excited for it. I feel that whenever I post any news about it, it's inevitably about the video capabilities, and there's been a bit of a backlash from traditional stills photographers who go, hey, where's my information? Why aren't you talking to us about the photographic capabilities? And it's like, well, it's already going to be a pretty powerful photographic camera for stills. I mean, they've said that it's got IBIS. We can guess that it's probably got 45 megapixels. It shoots at, you know, whatever it was, 15 frames per second. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we already have quite a few specifications for the still. So, you know, what else do we need to know? I'd like to know what the viewfinder specification is going to be. And that could change. They may not actually even know themselves yet. I would hope that they will soon. But do bear in mind that very, very high resolution panels, like the 5 megapixel ones, can be quite battery intensive, and they're expensive too. So if they put in a really super high res panel, it could put the price up quite a lot, and it could also deplete that battery life. So, you know, when some companies stick with 3.69 million EVFs, at first you might think, oh, I wish they'd gone higher, but sometimes there is a reason for that. Kerspot says, hi, Gordon, how does it drain the battery since it passed through only, not recording? I tried this as a test the other evening, and after I don't know, half an hour or so, the battery was really run down. And I remember trying to do another test later on, it had gone entirely. So that's why I wouldn't do it on the battery for long, at least not on the full frame, you know, EOS bodies. Maybe you'd have better battery life from a power shot or a different body. I would certainly look into USB power or one of those mains adapters that you stick in the battery compartment if you're going to use this as a webcam. I know that some people can't resist using a camera with a big sensor and a bright lens as a webcam, and why not? It's a bit of fun, isn't it? We're all chatting to each other on Zoom and Skype and WhatsApp and everything else, and you could be there with your nice shallow depth of field effects for your colleagues and friends and family to envy from afar. Trevor says, hi from North Yorkshire. Hi, Trevor. I used to live in West Yorkshire, you know, in Huddersfield, so I'm very familiar with North Yorkshire, beautiful part of the world. Amateur Bro, thank you very much for loving the channel. Travis Morrison McHale says, hi, Gordon, I liked your recent video about hi-fi. Thanks. You must be one of the few who watched it and liked it. I feel that whenever I do post something non-photography related, that it doesn't do that well. The coffee video didn't do that well. The hi-fi video, it's only had about 1,500 views so far, which is a lot less than a camera or lens review would get. In fact, I'm thinking of doing a separate tech channel for me to cover these other subjects without, you know, going too off topic on Camera Labs. I'd love to hear what you think. Do you mind seeing the off topic stuff on Camera Labs? Should I put it on a different channel or keep it all in one? It's really hard to decide. And if you do start a new YouTube channel, it is hard because you're starting from scratch with 0 subscribers. You can't monetize it. So you really do need to build those numbers up fast. But maybe it's the future. I don't want to upset any of you with off topic content. But thanks for enjoying that hi-fi video. I mean, since we are spending a lot more time at home, it's really revitalized my love of listening to music. Hi-fi in photography, I find, has quite a big crossover. There's a lot of photography and camera fans I know who are also hi-fi fans. I think the detail, perhaps, the nuances appeal to similar people. And I'm just amazed at what you can do with UPnP. If anybody's not seen that video, check it out. I used a free app on my Android phone called M Connect, and it allowed me to actually stream Tidal high definition music to a network player. It's just a Blu-ray player that had UPnP capabilities, so I could actually play this music. But the cool thing was that it maintained that high definition audio format, and it sounds ace. I didn't need any extra hardware. I didn't need to buy any extra software. Previously, this was something you needed some really weird stuff to get working, so I'm really pleased with that. Ben Harvey Photography. Hello, Ben. Ben, you will know, I'm talking to everyone else now, Ben, not you. Everyone will know Ben, who has posted some videos and helped me film some. Thank you very much for your help. Can't wait to do some more content with you. Ben actually tried this before I did, I think, so and with his EOS R, so he's already ahead of the curve, and I believe he's already using this setup so that he looks super cool with a nice blurry background on his work meetings. David Cook says, I want to test this out, my 7D Mark II with USB. Glancing across to the Canon website, yes, the 7D Mark II is supported, so try it out. Let us know what you think. Yang says, wow, a Canon webcam looks amazing. It does, doesn't it? I mean, it should look amazing because it's a full frame camera with a spectacularly expensive lens on the front of it. And if you are interested in the RF lenses, I recently posted a review of the 15 to 35 2.8 and also the 70 to 200 2.8. And I'm really enjoying the RF lenses, you know. And Canon's video, I also used, if you watch that hi-fi video, the pieces to camera that I filmed were also with the EOS R, only in 1080p. But I thought they looked really good. And it's got me excited again about Canon, and also this webcam software has got me excited too. And obviously the EOS R5. I think Canon has been sleeping for a while. Well, not sleeping, it's really been working very hard on all of this new technology, but it's coming to fruition now, and they're beginning to look really strong. So exciting times for Canon owners ahead. OC2 Fish, come and see us after the lockdown ends. I want to see everyone after lockdown ends. I'm missing my travel. Oh no, my 70D not listed. No, sorry, Kashino, 70D is not supported as yet. 80D is one of the oldest models, but you could pick one of those up or one of the power shots. So that's something you could do. Amateur Bro, the only cripple hammer, that's Camera Conspiracy, trademark there. Is the price? Well, we don't know what it is yet. Any guesses? I'm really hoping it's less than $4,000. Please make it less than $4,000. If it's $6,000, no one's going to buy it. It has to be less than $4,000, but I think it can't be less than $3,500. We'll see. Fingers crossed. If we all collectively, if they get enough orders, maybe it could work. But then, if no one's working and no one's earning any money, it's going to be a tough time to launch a high-end camera. But should be all right. Tony S says exposure looks good with backlight. Yes, it does. And this is because the movie mode on the Canon cameras works very well. I have face and eye detection enabled. And when you do that, it not only focuses on the face, but when it finds the face, it exposes for the face as well. And it sounds obvious. And all of the camera companies now support it, but some do it better than others. And again, Canon does it very, very well. So yeah, I think if you're interested in doing any kind of pieces to camera, then Canon cameras will work very, very well for you. Tom Robinson, use with Max. I wish, because that's what I use day to day. DP Review asked them, and they said they're thinking about it, but they wouldn't commit on their future news. I hope they do, because they do most of their software suite for Mac OS as well as Windows. But maybe there's something in the Windows operating system that makes using one of these as a USB webcam easier than on a Mac. I hope that's not the case, because I really want it to work on my Mac, although it's quite nice to be in a different room in the house, isn't it? R5 12 frames per second. Yes, you are. 20 frames per second electronic. Thank you. FE 1538C. So, says Vajek, Canon has really stopped producing EF lenses. They haven't said that, and they won't say that, but they kind of have, haven't they? They've updated most of their most popular lenses and the ones that needed updating in the native EF mount. And now, obviously, they've not done a new EF lens for quite a long time. It's all been RF. Hopefully, there'll be some more EF-M lenses for the sadly neglected EOS M owners that are out there. They keep bringing out new bodies, don't they? But where are the new lenses? At least Sigma is covering that now with those 3 lovely prime lenses. They are very, very good. I would not expect to see many more EF lenses. I can't say any more, because you can never say never. But I think it's RF all the way forward now for Canon with a handful of EFM lenses. So yeah, if you want, say, you know, the new 50mm 1.2 or new 85 1.2, you're going to have to get an EOS R camera, really. David says R5 is expensive and delayed to July. We don't know how expensive it's going to be. Of course it's going to be expensive, but we don't know the price yet. Delayed to July. I see some people on YouTube posting videos saying, shock, it's delayed beyond May. It was never going to come out in May. Not with what's happened in the past couple of months. I would be extremely surprised if it's available in July or even September. I am going for the end of the year. In time for Christmas, I would hope. But I would be surprised if we see it before then. Canon has to make sure that the supply chain, the manufacturing, but crucially that the customers are ready for it. You know, if none of us are earning, if none of us are out working again, if none of us are comfortable enough with our day-to-day life that we can think again about buying luxuries like this, then there's no point in putting a camera like this out. They're just going to keep teasing us with more and more specifications every month. Does anyone else believe in the monthly the monthly tease from Canon? Because I've noticed that it's been mid-month, every month now for 3 months. So mid-May, are we going to find out some more? Hopefully. OC Fish 7 used to say with Narnton, Hove. Yeah, Hove is very nice, and it is kind of joined to Brighton. It is the city of Brighton and Hove. If you imagine two conurbations very close to each other, this is an opportunity for me to raise my Camera Labs mug and check the autofocus. Look at that. Look at that. It's like a Camera Conspiracies video. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Oh, in case you're wondering, this lav mic I'm using here is the new white Rode lav mic. It's designed for the wireless go, but of course you can plug it into anything. I've got it plugged directly into my PC. You can't, by the way, use the built-in microphones on the Canon cameras when you're using them as a webcam. It doesn't work, sadly, but I think that's just the way that the webcam software works. So this is working fine, the lav mic, except that they made it in white for people who wear lighter clothes. Not me. I don't have the black one. There you go. Josh says, just limited on which application supported at the moment, and it worked well with his 6D Mark II. Yeah, I mean, I saw a very in-depth review of it, which for OBS, which said that it didn't work on Skype, but it's worked fine on Skype for me. So if you used it, let us know in the comments as well, or here, you know, which applications it's worked with. Does audio pass through USB, says Pat Davey. If it does, it's certainly not being used by the software. I'm having to use a separate microphone for this. This isn't for quality. This is because the microphone on the camera is not working, sadly. Although Anthony Teasdale says, yes, an audio channel comes through in OBS with my EOS R. It showed a mono channel, but I did not have a mic plugged in. So your mileage may vary. And Siva Bala, thank you very, very much for that very kind donation there. That's brilliant. Thank you. Cheers. You're a gentleman. Thank you very much. BM says, Canon cripple hammer is still raised overhead until we find out the 4K and 8K clip lens. That's the only thing left, isn't it? Because they've said that it's not a time-lapse mode. It's going to be at 30 frames per second for 8K, 120 for 4K, which is awesome, isn't it? It's full frame, it's not cropped. So the only other thing that could possibly go wrong is the clip length. They're not going to do that, though, are they? Are they going to say it's limited to 1 minute? They're not going to do that. Not after this long. Are they? I don't think so. Maybe for 8K. I don't know. Surely not. They're not going to be that mean. Pablo says, would you rather get the EOS for 4K or invest in lights or the gear? Well, I do all my videos in 4K, but only because I can, because my camera will film 4K, and because my computer will also edit it. As you know, I'm really into out of camera stuff. I'm not into processing raw files, and that also applies to video. So I'm not into grading my video. If you grade your video, it requires a much faster computer. If you don't grade your video, then it's dead easy to edit 4K. I have no problem at all. I can edit. I used to be able to edit 4K on my 2012 MacBook. 2012. That broke and then got nicked. It got nicked after it broke. fortuitous a couple of years ago, and I replaced it with the latest 13-inch MacBook Pro. So it's 2 years old. It edits 4K so easily in Final Cut. But that said, I only do it because I can, not because I need to. You guys and gals watch my videos. Do you think that, do you notice the difference between the handful I do in 1080 compared to 4K? I think good 1080 can look amazing. And in fact, if you look at that hi-fi video that I recently posted, the pieces to camera that I filmed were with the EOS R in 1080. And I thought they looked brilliant. They look really, really sharp. So better, I would say, to invest in lights and lenses. Get a really good 1080 setup first, unless your client, and that client may be you, unless your client demands 4K. Now, there is one exception where I am finding it very useful. Everyone always talks about the ability to punch in and out when you're filming 4K, but you're actually editing on a 1080 timeline. That is useful, although I've never done it. What I find really useful is grabbing stills from 4K videos. So what you may have noticed on Camera Labs now is when I do a video review, I post it on YouTube, and then I grab stills from it and I caption it and expand on that sometimes for the written version at cameralabs.com. Well, those screen grabs, those photos are actually video grabs from the 4K video. Now, if I was grabbing them from 1080 video, they'd only be 2 megapixel. It would probably still be okay for the website, but being able to grab 8 megapixel stills from 4K video, especially when the subject is still, you know, like a product or a menu, then it can look really, really good. So I like filming in 4K for that reason, that I can grab good quality stills from it. And in fact, sometimes post them socially. Some of the photos that I post on Instagram are actually video grabs from 4K video from some of the things that I've done. So if you have a use for it, film in 4K, but if it's at the cost of, say, a good lens or lights or a good microphone, don't bother. Get all those things right first for 1080. And then when you've got all that right, maybe look at high resolutions, I would say. FE1538C says, greetings from the Czech Republic. I love the Czech Republic, and not just Prague. I've been all over, and there's quite a few photos of it in Camera Book, also available in the Czech language. What do you think of that? That's pretty good segueing, isn't it? FE38C also says, assuming Canon EOS R5 is $3,500, quite likely might have 5 to 10 limit max. I'd be happy with 5 to 10 minutes per clip, so long as the battery didn't completely run down in that time. I've tested some older or smaller Sony cameras which were limited to the 5-minute clips. I think it was the RX100 Mark 5 or 6 or 7. When you're filming 4K, there was some limit, I think. And I could make that work, 5-minute clips. I mean, obviously not for what we're doing now, but for like the product tours, you know, none of your clips should be longer than 5 minutes. So that was fine. But what wasn't fine was when the camera filmed, say, 3 of them in a row, overheated, and then wouldn't let you film again for about another 15, 20 minutes. That's not acceptable. That's not really usable. So I don't mind 5 or 10-minute clip lengths so long as it's ready to go straight away and that I can do a few of them. Is EFM a dead duck now, says Real Bestie. Again, it's like saying, are there going to be any more EF lenses? You can't call it, because every time you think that they're not doing it, suddenly, you know, a new product arrives. You know, we've all, I presume, follow the rumor sites. I think I've seen some rumors of some new EOS M products coming in the future. I hope so, but I think it's a really great format. I think the M50 is an absolutely amazing camera. And one of the great things about them is that as they get older and older, they become more and more affordable, really, you know, heavily discounted. And there's some that it's hard to beat that camera, you know. 4K is not very good in it, but if you're only interested in 1080, it's got a fully articulated flip screen, microphone input. That is such a great vlogging camera. And also, you know, it's 24 megapixel stills, dual pixel autofocus. I think that camera, especially coupled with one of the Sigma Primes, is really, really nice. No built-in stabilization, fingers crossed for the future. Mal Media says, Gordon, are you using USB or HDMI? I am using USB because this is Canon's new USB utility that allows you to use selected EOS and PowerShot cameras as USB webcams. So what do you think? So the bandwidth is being limited by my USB port on my PC. It's an old PC. If you've got a remotely newer computer, I bet it will look better than this. You will support higher resolutions, but HDMI is probably going to give you more flexibility. Zoom works, says Marmedia. Yeah, Skype worked for me as well. All I want is the perfect camera, says Anthony Teasdale. Obviously, I've never seen any of his videos. Is my audio through EOS R? Sadly not. Some people earlier on the conversation, if you scroll up, did get it to work. I didn't get it to work, at least not in YouTube Live. I think in OBS, because there's so many more options, you'd be able to do that. Speaking of OBS, I've had a few comments on my videos from people saying, does this camera work with OBS? And I've always gone, well, I don't know, I don't really use it. Should I? Would you like to know in reviews whether something works with OBS? Is Nikon going to do something similar? I hope so. Heads Tails asks. I hope everyone does it. I mean, why wouldn't you want to use your camera, a camera that you already own with lovely lenses, as your webcam? Why not? And I believe, well, the DP review story went that Canon was giving something back at a time when everyone's doing webcam chats and webcam prices have gone through the roof. I've not shopped for one recently, so I don't know if that's true or not. But if you already own a camera, you want to use it, right? Well, I want to use it. Will it finally be the end of half-hour clips also? No reason to keep doing it. Well, there is a reason to keep doing it because there is a tax reason, a limit for that, where if you can record half an hour or more, the camera is classed as a video camera in some regions and it incurs considerably higher tax, which makes the camera more expensive. So the manufacturers impose this limit, which is also quite handy because beyond half an hour, a lot of cameras overheat anyway. And I believe, although no one will admit it, but I believe that the cameras that avoid this, such as the Lumix G90 or G95 and the Sony A6400 and A6600, I think they're paying the tax in order to then have this feature that's unique in the market. They would never admit that. They wouldn't tell me if that's what they did, but they work. They can record for more than half an hour. But I think that I'd love that limit to go, but I think it might be sticking around for a bit longer. How will they keep it cool if 8K is over a few minutes? With unicorn tears raining down from the rainbows. I have no idea. I actually have the Panasonic S1H at the moment for testing, trying out. They now do 5.9 or 5.8, whatever it is, K RAW over HDMI to an Atomos Ninja 5, which is quite a nice solution. It's not treated as HDMI, it's just using that as a pipe to get a load of data out of it. And that camera, if you've seen it, is quite a lot thicker than the already fairly hefty Lumix S1 and S1R. And it's got vents and it's got, I think there's a fan in there, I don't know, but it's, you know, they have some heating issues. So they've looked into that. How are Canon going to do it? I have no idea. That sample that I saw at Canon UK was, you know, within a couple of feet from me, but it did not allow me to touch it. When they picked it up, I wasn't allowed to pick it up. When they picked it up, they didn't go, oh, it wasn't like that. And equally, it wasn't like, oh God, it's made of cardboard. Because I have seen some samples like that, but it's pre-production. It was a mock-up, you know, who knows what the final thing's going to look at. That thing was just it's an idea. I would not be surprised if it looks a bit different from that. But, you know, Canon have been quiet for a long time. Maybe they've worked it all out. And a lot of the heat generated is by the processor, right? If the processor is doing all this work, all this thinking about encoding it and all the rest of it, well, as anyone who's into computers knows, you know, each new generation of processors becomes more efficient, runs cooler. So it's not within the realms of possibility that they simply have a processor that is very efficient. You know, just because other people haven't got it doesn't mean that they can't do it. And remember, they still have some technologies that other people don't have. And, you know, they make their own sensors as well. So they, you know, don't underestimate Canon is what I'd say at the moment. I think it's going to be all right. I think, you know, it's not been all right for so long that we assume something's got to be wrong with it. But I feel good about it. How do you feel about it? Oh, Captain JC Ray says, greetings from the Philippines. I've never been to the Philippines. I would love to go. Is there any news about the R5 having non-cropped RAW 4K? They have not mentioned that. I asked them. because it's a great question. They only said RAW for 8K. Now, if you look at you see the 1DX Mark III, I think, is the dark horse here. That gives us a lot of clues as to how the EOS R5 is going to work. And it's funny because so few people reviewed it, because it's a high-end, very specialty sports camera, that a lot of people are still speculating around the R5, when in fact some of the answers, I think, are in the 1DX Mark III. And if that's the case, then I think RAW video will only be at the highest native resolution, because it doesn't have to downsample it then. It doesn't have to do anything to it. All it has to do is just get it off the sensor and onto a card via the minimum of processing. So I would imagine that RAW is probably for 8K only. I hope it's available for 4K, but I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't, because it isn't on the 1DX Mark III. Although obviously that doesn't do 8K, it does 5.5. So I would assume that's how they're doing RAW. And I think in terms of the format and everything else, I'd assume it's going to be very similar to the 1DX Mark III, which is actually amazing for video, which again makes me think they're using it as a test platform. You know, I think a lot of the R5 is in there. So that's a good advert for my 1DX Mark III video review. Not the video-based review of it, but the review of the video capabilities of it in video. You know what I mean? It's just Bob. I reckon they may sneak in a couple of surprises. Yeah, I think there's lots more. I hope that they have time lapse built into it as well, because they sometimes do funny things like not include that. Isaac says, not really. I assume to the question of 4K, 1080 is perfect. It can be perfect, you know. 1080 can look great. Good 1080 can look amazing, you know. And I know some people sneakily up convert 1080 to 4K. A lot of the kind of like wildlife documentaries you see as well, where they're broadcasting 4K, the only thing that's natively in 4K a lot of the time in those documentaries are like the big sweeping establishing shots of a landscape, you know, from a drone or a helicopter. There they can get a nice 4K native camera on there. But when they're doing their footage of the animals or the birds from the jungle, or, you know, in the Arctic, or in slow motion or extreme macro underwater, they're not always filming in 4K. A lot of that is up converted 1080 or something in between. So good 1080 can look amazing. I should also say thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in now. This is brilliant, because when I went live, I noticed that Chase Jarvis also went live. Don't go to his. Watch it afterwards. But I thought, oh no, my first YouTube live, and it goes up against Chase Jarvis. I met him once, you know. He visited Queenstown while I lived in New Zealand, where he was doing some commercial shoot, I think. And just for a chance, I thought I'll just send him an email. And I said, hi, you don't know me. This was shortly after the Nikon D90 video he did, when the Nikon D90 introduced video, and then the 5D Mark II introduced HD video, and they got Vincent LaForest to do that video. Well, Chase Jarvis did the promos for the Nikon D90. This was, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. It was a while ago. Anyway, so I dropped him a line, and he got back to me and said, sure, I'm staying at this hotel. Do you want to meet up? I said, yeah, great. Can I interview you? And he said, fine. And gave me like a half hour or an hour slot or something. And honestly, I spent about half a day with him. Extremely generous with his time. His crew were really nice people that he worked with, and just a thoroughly nice bloke, really. So that was a joy. And if you want a bit of a laugh, you can see that video is one of my earliest ones. I remember, because I had one decent camera, which I was filming him with. I'd never filmed an interview before, so I thought, what am I going to film me with? I need me for cutaways. So I had this crappy camera, and I'd never filmed before, so I didn't know about setting it up so that the eye height was the same. So like, he's looking like this, I'm looking like that, and we were both looking in the same direction. That's a big no-no, because on one of you want to be like this, and the other one needs to be like that. That's a very interesting point. Yes, it is, isn't it? Again, it's like Camera Conspiracy's imagined boardroom meeting, isn't it? So I had to flip my video in post. So like, I had a shirt on with buttons, the buttons were back to front. I think I probably had Camera Labs written backwards on it. It was terrible. It was terrible. So bad that I had a few comments on it saying, you never interviewed him. You've taken someone else's interview and you just cut yourself over it. Which I should have done that. Could have been quite fun. R5 launch limited quantity for sure. Yeah. But then who's going to be able to afford it anyway? Advanced animal subject tracking autofocus. Does anyone use or want animal autofocus? I've used it on the Sonys and it works really well, the animal IAF, and on the Panasonic Lumix, the S1 bodies, it's really nice. It is good, you know, and people love their photographs of pets and wildlife. It does seem to work pretty well. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. It's just Rob says 4K stills grab. I do this often on the 90D. Purposely use fast shutter speeds. Yeah, you need to if you're freezing the action. I don't need to because I'm filming 4K product shots basically, where they're static for enough seconds that I can grab a still picture. So I get to film at video shutter speeds, but I get to take pictures of things that don't move. Swami Danaland says, what is the one camera you can live with forever? Well, I actually had a question a bit like that the other day. And at this point, notice my lights behind me. I thought if I've got a shallow depth of field, I really need some fairy lights or something behind me. And I didn't have any. But I did have this old Lifex strip LED panel, and I stretched it over there. That's what you can see behind me. Wow, look at that. If I go really close. Oh, look at that. Look at that blurring. That's nice, isn't it? I was recently invited on Andrew and Danae, who are photographers on YouTube, but they have a channel, and they recently asked me if I would film a quick segment, pretty much asking that, what is your desert island camera? And then it got a lot more meaning. They asked me this before the situation really took off, where you think, crikey, maybe I am kind of stranded in your own home. It's a bit like being on a desert island. And I know lots of people who are struggling and have had to sell gear. So it's almost like the really sad situation of, if you have to sell everything, what's the one camera you would keep? So it took on a lot of extra meaning. But unfortunately, I recorded this really glib piece going, hi, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs. And if you're looking for one camera, here's the one you need. So I recommended the Sony RX10 Mark IV is the one camera that will do everything. No one talks about it. It's brilliant, but it's not the camera I'd want. The camera I'd want is one that I have more of an emotional connection with. And I chose the Fujifilm X100V because I love Fujifilms out of camera quality. And I'm assuming on this desert island, I don't have a computer to post-process, although I probably do have a lot of time on my hands. I just really like the physicality of it. It's a really nice looking camera. It's small enough to take everywhere with you, but it's just very inspirational. And they fixed a load of problems in previous generations. So do check out my review of that. And do check out that video with Andrew and Danae and say, hi, came from Gordon's channel. Nice to see you. I don't know why I'm putting on that voice. What's the one camera you would want to, if you could only have one camera? Of course, for a lot of people, we only have one camera, you know. Most of the cameras that I shoot with are ones that I'm testing at the time that are on loan. I personally don't actually have that many. Yeah, FE with 1538 I agree. Raw video 8K only. I suspect that would be the case. Mac says Fuji. I assume that's the camera that they cannot live without. Thank you, Captain. I will let you know if I come to the Philippines. And likewise, you know, I some of the funniest things I've done, and as a Brit, it's quite hard because we're quite reserved people, and we, you know, we don't normally just freely say, here's where I'm going to be at this time, let's meet up. I have a lot of American friends who are a lot more comfortable with doing that sort of thing. But whenever I've gone along to their events or things, it's always gone really well, and you meet loads of such nice people. Most people are really nice, aren't they? Which is great. And that's the thing about the other YouTubers as well. I meet a lot of them on other press events, and if you watch their content, sometimes you think, yeah, they're all right. Not sure about that one, but they're a bit funny. And then you meet them in real life and they're all lovely. So not that anyone's asked me to slag anyone off, but they are all really nice. So yeah, if I do end up visiting any places and I do have any spare time, which isn't that often because I'm normally traveling with my family and we don't hang around long in any place, you know, legal reasons and stuff like that. Then yeah, it would be great to organize something. So I do appreciate all of that. And also anyone's suggestions. Everyone knows that I'm really into coffee and street food and stuff. So, you know, if I'm going anywhere and you know a really good place, inside information, That's the best. I can't wait to get out again. And, you know, I love making coffee at home, but I love drinking coffee out as well. This, I should say, is a lemon drink because it is 6:45 in the evening. Focus, EOS R. Focus, you can do it. So it's just a lemon drink. I'm surprised I've not lost my voice yet. Anthony Roberts, hello from Japan. Konnichiwa. Hajimemashite, dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Just showing off a bit there. I learned a bit of Japanese a few years ago because I meet a lot of Japanese people through work, you know, because so many cameras are made in Japan, and I felt a bit rude not even being able to say hello or nice to meet you, or that's an impressive technology. So I love Japan, the food, the country, the people, the language, everything. Fascinating place. I want to visit there again, but even visiting Brighton or London would be nice at the moment. You would like Canon to introduce eye control autofocus. Where did that go? Well, Anthony, I remember that from not just the movie Firefox. You must think in Russian. Think in Russian. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the Clint Eastwood 1980s movie about a very fast aeroplane called Firefox. Not about a web browser. It's not about that. Although it might be now. It has extra meaning, doesn't it? But in the early 90s, Canon released the EOS 5, a film SLR, which I actually bought. It was my first Canon SLR. Prior to that, I'd done Nikon SLRs, Pentax SLRs, Praktica, Mamiya, bigger formats, loads of different cameras. But I thought I should try out the Canon EOS system, which was quite young at the time. EF was still a relatively new mount, which at the time was actually quite controversial, them dumping their old mount and going fully electronic, but it's given them a lot of benefits to do so. And the EOS 5 had this feature. I only had 3 autofocus points, as I recall. And you would stare, you'd stare at the one you wanted it to focus with. You're like, I want you to focus there, not there, there, over there. And it had another one in the top corner, and you'd glance up at it and it'd give you a depth of field preview. I thought that was awesome. It really was magic. And then they never did it again, as far as I know. But that was brilliant. And that's the interesting thing. So the EOS 5 had that, and everyone knows that the 5D, Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4, and now the EOS R5, they're 5 series. That's where it's at for me. So I'm going to film a history video about the history of the 5 series, because the 5 for me is where Canon gets all their best technology and puts it into a body that's expensive, but not so expensive that it's just within reach. Not all of them, but I've managed to, I've owned an EOS 5 and a 5D Mark 1 Classic is the camera that I took to New Zealand when I moved there. 12 megapixel full frame. That was great, wasn't it? No man ETDH says, thank you for your videos. I like them. Will you test the new RF 24-72.8? Do you know what? I might now, because I did the 70-200 RF, and that was a popular video. I've since done the 15-35, less popular, I think, because it's not as new and people just like new stuff on YouTube, right? But over time, lens videos generally do quite well. And I thought, you know what? There's a chance for me here to review most or even all of the RF lenses before it gets ahead of itself, and there's just too many. You know, imagine starting a photography channel now and going, I'm going to review all the EF lenses. You know, that's a massive task. But if you're going to say I'm going to review all the RF lenses, then, you know, there's still enough of them, or not so many of them, that it's an impossible task. So yes, I would like to do the 24-72.8. I'd also like to do the new 24-105, the cheap one, because mounted on the EOS RP, that's a pretty cheap camera now. Well, relatively speaking, full frame. You know, you look at Fujifilm and Olympus with their crop sensor cameras, really nice. I'm testing the X-T4 at the moment. I've already done the EM1 Mark III, brilliant cameras. But, you know, that price, you could get a full frame system, a new full frame system, not a discontinued one from Sony, like, you know, an A7 Mark II. But yeah, I want to test that new 24-105 and see if it's any good. Just Join says, Javi, any insight on when this new utility will be available for Mac? No. They haven't said whether they're going to do it or not. I hope they will. The question has been asked. The answer hasn't come. You and Kai should make a song together, says Swami. on the launch of the R5 like old times? Maybe. He's a fun guy. I'm not as much fun, so I'm not sure whether that would work. I'm sure he will. Why is it still in 480p? Says Gino. I think it's my USB connection. I really apologize. I was hoping that this is going to look really good, but I think it's because of the bandwidth of the USB port on my PC. If you have a faster port, I think you'll have better quality at your disposal. I think that's what's going on. Lumix GH5 for the win, says Shiznuts. Hello, Shiznuts. You post a lot of comments, so thank you very much for your support and engagement. GH5 is still brilliant. Does anyone follow Everyday Dad Gary? He's pretty fun. He's just bought another one. He films a lot with it. And of course, Jordan from DP Review now, he, until recently, shot everything on the GH5. Now has gone over to the S1 series, I think, but still Panasonic source behind the scenes. They are really good. And of course, get more and more affordable. Love the Camera Conspiracies imitations. I'd love to be able to do one of him, but I can't do the Canadian accent. I need some practice. They are fun. Hello from Italy. Thank you, Giuseppe. I can't wait to visit Italy again. Book of Alpharonomy. Thank you so much for your donation. That's very kind. Good day, Gordon. I'm still deciding between the A6400 and M6 Mark II. Sony was ahead because of streaming. Should I reconsider based on this utility? Thanks. Well, if you want to do USB webcam streaming there and you have a Windows 10 PC, then yes, the M6 II will do it and the A6400 won't. The A6400 you can if you do it over HDMI, which is the traditional route. And if you've got an aging PC like mine, maybe the better route. If you've got a brand new PC with a very fast USB port, then maybe the M6 II is the answer. The M6 II, though, the EFM system, buy into it with your eyes wide open because there are not many lenses for it, and I don't know how many more there will be, but are the lenses that you want available? If they are, then go ahead. I really like the M6 II, and I really like EOS M, and Sigma's latest DFM lenses really do transform the usefulness of that system, but don't buy into it expecting many more new products. So I'd be looking for good prices on it. The A6400 is what I use to film most of my video reviews, and it's a lovely camera. I really like it. The autofocus is brilliant on it. The video quality is brilliant, and you can record for more than half an hour, which you can't on the Canon. So if you want to record for more than half an hour, and if you're doing this sort of thing, crikey, I've been live for almost an hour. I'm going to call it a day probably when we reach 60 minutes, because I'm going to start watching Disney Plus and continue my journey through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've seen most of the Marvel films, but never in such quick succession. And they really have thought it through, haven't they? Not so much on some of them. Some of them are standalone ones with just like a throwaway, oh, crikey, we've forgotten to mention Nick Fury, quick, get him in. But some of them, they really have thought it through. And there's elements where there's flashbacks or flash forwards. I think it's great. And they did such a better job of that than Star Wars. Even though I'm a massive Star Wars fan, I love The Mandalorian. I do think that they made it up as they went along. Whereas with those Marvel films, I think they had a bit of an idea where they were going. Maybe not a complete idea, but a bit of an idea. And that makes all the difference, doesn't it? So anyway, thank you very much for that donation. I hope that that information was useful. I got the A7 III after a really long wait, says Swami. I'm going to stay with it. The A7 III is an amazing camera. It's still amazing. What is it, 2 years old now? Still amazing. And, you know, just does really, really well. But isn't Peter Gregg already using a Canon on his Mac through USB? And he might be. I don't know. This is the first YouTube live chat I've ever done. So I don't know. This is all quite new to me. Yeah, Shisner says, of course, I prefer my GH5 G9 as mains. I have a G9 and I really, really like it. Anyone who knows my work knows that I love Micro Four Thirds. It was the system that got me onto mirrorless 10 years ago. Got loads of lovely little lenses for it. Panasonic's video quality has always been amazing. Their stabilization is right up there. Now, obviously, Olympus's stabilization is still the best. And they've got phase detect autofocus now. I wish Panasonic would do it. Panasonic's AF is good, you know. It is very, very good for shooting action. It's fine for all those things. For video, though, that contrast wobble, you do see it, and that puts me off it a bit for what I do. But if you're shooting with manual focus or you're doing different things, They are amazing, and that G9 is such good value. It's such a nice camera, and it does 4K 60p, not for long, but it does it. You know, this is an old camera. We're still getting excited when new cameras do this, and there's an old camera that does it. How much do you think the R will be reduced when the R5 comes out? Cheers, Ben, Master of Nothing 83. Good question. I think it has to go down, doesn't it? And I'm using it now, and it's a pretty good camera, isn't it? Fingers crossed. I cannot speculate on that, but I'm sure it will go down. So if you are thinking of buying an EOS R now and you can wait 6 months, maybe wait 6 months. If you can't wait 6 months, don't wait 6 months. Maybe consider the RP. Who knows? Is there any fear you have on a Canon R5? Yes, terrified it's not going to deliver in it, that it was all a big joke. Maybe they're all just laughing maniacally in the Canon offices. Oh God, it's gone too far. When can we tell them that it's not real? Someone has to go and make it now. It could be that. Do you digitize your negatives library, says Gino Photo. Well, I did used to take a lot of film pictures, and I did used to digitize them. Back in the day, I did have a variety of film scanners, Nikon ones. They were really good, cool. What do they call it? Cool scanner, something 4000. That was a nice scanner. And I got some scan. I knew some people who worked in photo libraries, and they did some drum scans for me as well of my medium format stuff. And yeah, I still have them. I was looking at some of them only the other day, and they still look really, really nice. Yeah, I love film. Although I don't shoot film now, because I shot film for like 20 years before I went to digital. And now, you know, I love it, but I can get that fix from instant now. I think a lot of people shooting film now and loving film is because they didn't have. They're not as old, so they didn't have that, you know, that time when they shot film before. But yeah, everyone should try it. It is lovely, and yeah, I do digitize it. Swami says your channel is pure education for my job. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And I've got more tutorials coming. I've got a really nice tutorial on how to photograph the moon coming up. And like everything I do, I start off with a very simple idea, and I think I'm going to do this. It's only going to be a 2-minute video. It's just going to talk about one thing. And then a year later, it becomes a 1-hour video that covers everything. And it's too long for anyone to watch and enjoy. But that's what I'm working on. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to cover everything. But it's going to be a long watch. I don't know whether to release it, but I've got to film it first. I filmed half of it. I don't know whether to wait until this is all over or not, because some videos are not doing very well in the current climate. And this one is going to take a lot of work, so I don't know whether it's worth it as a waste or anything. I do have another video coming up as a preview. On Monday, I will be publishing a video on the EF to EOS R adapter. Oh, lens adapter, that's boring. But this is the one with the filter, the drop-in filters, and I've got the polarizing one, and it's quite fun. So you can see me polarize my way around my local neighborhood with an adapted DF lens. So that's something to look forward to for all you Canon fans out there. Yeah, we've got some more speculation up to $4,000 or 10-second clips. Maybe the rolling shutter will be terrible. Oh, I don't know. I think, oh, and Rolf Missing says, ordered your book. Thank you very much, Rolf. I hope you enjoy it. You know, it's funny. Some people, you know, my philosophy has always been to try and get the result you want in camera, which is, you know, where the book got its title idea from. Some people think that's actually a bit of a snobby approach. Oh, you can do it in camera, can you? Mm. It wasn't ever meant like that. It was meant that I was seeing so many comments on photos that I post saying, oh, you know, what are your Lightroom presets, or how did you do that? And it's like, I didn't do anything. This is a JPEG out of camera. Didn't do anything to it. Now, there's a lot of pictures where you do need to process them a lot. That's not my style, but you do. And in fact, check out my friend Ben Harvey's tutorial on like coloring fine art black and white pictures. It's for someone like me that doesn't post-process, it's an absolute education. It's amazing, and the results look fantastic, but it's not what I do. So I wanted to sort of produce a book that said you don't need to. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't need to. That was the philosophy. So I'm really glad that so many people have bought it and enjoy it. So thank you very much to anyone who's bought that. It really does. Well, it's very flattering, and it also helps support my work. I'm going to have to go now because I've only got about 3 movies left in the MCU. I've seen them all. I know what happens, but I've got some momentum going. So I'm gonna watch that next. Still have my 90D and love it. For the moon, I'm all in, says Reagan 5. It's going to be so good. To infinity and beyond, because you can focus the lenses a bit beyond infinity, can't you? Astro filters that fit in the adapter. Oh, gosh, that would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, with the ND filtering, that's mentioned in it. I've not tested it. It's a variable ND, but I was showing it at the launch of the EOS R, so I've got a little bit of footage of that. Nick says, enjoy your content. I'm using the RP for a webcam now, which is now supported over USB. Maybe using that. And yeah, I think it's a remarkably good value camera, that one now, especially with the 24-105. Chisnut says, cheers, mate. Miss your vids from New Zealand. A lot of people say, are you still in New Zealand, mate? It's like, oh, I kind of left in 2012. So it's been a while. I do miss it. It was a lovely place and it was a brilliant time, but I have been in England for a while now. And with that, I will bid you all farewell. I wonder if anybody will actually even watch this. I'm going to try and publish it afterwards. I hope it wasn't just a completely mad stream of consciousness and that there was something useful there. I've really enjoyed talking to you all as well. It's been really fun. It's made me realize I should do this more often. Or in fact, more than once, because this was the first time. So I will do it again. We'll schedule it and we'll do some Q&As and help you through. But this has been I was going to say quick, but now a very long drawn out test of the EOS Utility webcam beta on the EOS R. I hope you thought it went well. I have been quite impressed. It's been running now for just over 1 hour and it's not melted, overheated or run out its battery yet. Although I suspect that the moment I switch this off, it will go and that'll be it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.